I'm really enjoying this series that we're telling stories about um, experiences with Manna and experiences that we've had. And some of mine um, are a lot of mine are here in Clarksville. Some of them are in Nashville, and some of them are maybe even before Manna existed. But one of those stories, actually, I'm going to tell two stories at the same time. Starts with a guy by the name of Charlie. And Charlie was a homeless man, and when I worked at another ministry, he would come every Thursday night, and he'd want to help. He would take out the trash or sweep the floor. He'd ask to do anything, and finally, his job became taking the trash out every night after the meal. And it got to the point where he would almost get mad if you let anyone else take the trash out for him. And there was this time where I took some time off, and I went out to Seattle for a month and stayed. And while I was out there, some well-meaning volunteer who was in charge of the meal decided that it was wrong for Charlie to take out the trash because he was one of the clients that needed to be served, not to come and serve. And so they actually took that job away from him and gave it to one of the volunteers. When I came back from Seattle, after that month of being gone, I noticed Charlie wasn't there. And realized that, and I saw Charlie later actually, and I asked him, I said, why did you quit coming? He said, well, they took my job away. He said, they didn't need me anymore. Then we had another guy, Calvin. Calvin was a homeless guy. I met him a few years later, and Calvin would come to our meals, and he was homeless as well. And he would want to clean up afterwards, after the meal. And there again, he had a job. He wanted to do that. That was he would smile. He would actually enjoy it. But I noticed that he would stay until the bitter end. I mean, if there was a crumb on the floor, he would sweep it up, or he would go the extra mile. He would help us out to the car. He would do all this. And it was almost embarrassing sometimes how much he would want to help. And Vicki and I realized that it was not just the job that Calvin wanted. It was the fellowship, and it was a way for him to stay inside a little bit longer and stay warm for a few minutes more. So many times we think that people who live on the streets are just after all they can get, or there's no good in them. There is good in them. Everybody needs purpose. Even those guys living on the streets or the bridge, they won't need to be needed, and they need that friendship, that fellowship, just to make them feel alive. Sometimes we're too quick to take the dignity away from those we serve and not let them be a part of what we're doing, not just be our client.